SoFi Stadium, normally the home of the Rams and the Chargers, but tonight the setting for the meeting of two giants from Europe's favoured code of football. Arsenal, the runners-up in England's Premier League last season, and the champions of Spain, Barcelona. This will be Barca's first game of pre-season. They were due to play Juventus last Saturday, but that was cancelled after illness struck the squad, so there's an extra importance to this particular run-out. The Gunners have played 3 times already and have one more match after this at home against Monaco before they face Manchester City in the Community Shield on Sunday week. Pleasant evening in Los Angeles, temperature middle of the road. Stadium stunningly designed, $5 billion investment. However, in truth, this is an occasion that was at risk of not taking place. The natural grass surface was only rolled out yesterday, and the ground staff have been wrestling with problems all day long. They even had a road roller out there for a while, trying to smooth out the surface. Both managers are concerned about the risk of injury. It may well become an issue. It's a big crowd. Arsenal well represented, but the expectation is that those supporters will be outnumbered by the fans of FC Barcelona. Match referee Alex Chilowitz leading out the 2 lines of players. 10 days ago this stage, the final of the Gold Cup. The pitch was rolled up after that in order for a concert to take place last weekend. It was rolled out again just yesterday. And the ground staff have been here since the early hours trying to make sure that it's playable enough for this game to take place without undue risk of injury to either set of players. Thunderous noise accompanying the 2 lines. Arsenal in their traditional red and white. Barcelona are unveiling a white strip this season, and they're planning to use it tonight. It'll be the first time they've worn the colours of their great rivals Real Madrid, effectively, since the 1978-79 season. Musical accompaniment, the fanfare for the common man. These players anything but as they line up either side of halfway in anticipation of their formal presentation to tonight's gathering. So the obligatory pre-kick-off handshakes. Plenty of familiar faces in both lineups tonight. A chance to see heroes made real in the flesh. Well, Arsenal make 4 changes to the team beaten by Manchester United at the weekend. Declan Rice drops out. Jesus comes in to lead the line. Havertz again slots Stuart Robson into that central midfield 3.
And Havertz needs a good game tonight, both with and without the ball. It's also a chance for Trossard to nudge ahead of Martinelli in that left wing position, while Timber will start at left back, an unfamiliar role.
Alex Chilowitz, now resident in Oregon, a regular on the MLS scene for the past few seasons. He is in charge tonight. Barcelona include 2 of their new signings, Gundogan and Romeu, but not yet their third, Inigo Martinez. Serginho Dest plays at right back. even though there's unlikely to be a future for the US international at the club, Robert Lewandowski is a princely spearhead.
Well, I think 6 of these players will start the first La Liga game of the season. Ter Stegen in goal, Araujo and Christensen in central defence, Pedri and Gundogan in midfield, and of course Lewandowski up front.
The 2 captains have been called in for the toss of the coin. Martin Odegaard and Marc-Andre Ter Stegen. But the issue at hand is not just what sort of a run out this will be, but what the surface will be like, Stuart. And we've seen the ground staff making frantic efforts to try and get it fit.
I think it looks worse than it's going to play. I just watched the warm-up. The ball didn't seem to bobble too much. Players didn't seem too concerned by it. Yes, they were concerned when they looked at the pitch before they came out for the warm-up. But I think it's going to play okay. Let's hope it does.
Really rather strange to see Barcelona in white of all colours. First time in 44 years that they've worn white jerseys. And we are going to see them periodically throughout the La Liga season. Arsenal in the much more familiar red and white. So we are just about set in Los Angeles. 60,000 people present for a repeat of the 2006 Champions League final, which Arsenal led but lost so painfully. Dramatic night in Paris. Jens Lehmann sent off early, Juliano Belletti deciding it late. Wind forward 17 years, and Arsenal haven't reached a similar pinnacle since, but they're threatening to climb the mountain again. Barcelona coming here having re-established themselves as the leading team in Spain. Gabriel, back to Aaron Ramsdale. Arsenal heading back to the UK after this. Barcelona staying on US shores for further games against Real Madrid and Milan. Araujo. Abde Ezalzouli. Gundogan to Oriol Romeu, who is second time around at Barcelona. Began his career with them more than a decade ago. Never made the grade. And is back via various stopping off points, including Chelsea and Southampton.
Already seen a couple of good switches of play by Barcelona. Araujo from that right centre-half position all the way out to Abde on this left-hand side.
Timber looking for Jesus to the middle. Foul committed. Free kick awarded.
Well, he claimed he won the ball. Gabriel is claiming that was a run on goal for the centre-forward. Certainly a lively start to the game. He was excellent last season, Araujo. So was he. Ter Stegen, best defensive record in La Liga.
26 clean sheets, setting a league record. Up goes the cry of Arsenal, Arsenal from the Gunners supporters. Largely situated at the opposite end of the stadium to this. It's Odegaard, and it's overhit. And this is Marcos Alonso. Free kick goes in Gundogan and Barcelona's favour.
There's another player that had a very good season last year, Saliba for Arsenal. Very quick.
We missed him in the run-in. And then he was injured. Saliba being tested out now by Lewandowski. Trossard. Offside against Jesus. And Araujo followed through and made the challenge anyway.
That already looks a feisty battle, doesn't it, between Jesus and Araujo.
Free kick. And I think Alex Chilowicz might be in for a testing evening.
Absolutely. Already the players are getting round him. Not sure. A couple of fouls on Gundogan were worthy of a free kick. Does look as though at times Barcelona will play with a back three. Dest high and wide on that right-hand side. Abde on this left-hand side. And Alonso tucking in as the third centre-back.
Timber has been caught. It's an unfamiliar position for him at left-back.
I'm not sure when he came to Arsenal he expected to be playing at left-back in the first couple of pre-season games.
And Timber, one of three major close-season signings by the Gunners. That's also starting tonight, but Declan Rice in reserve. Lewandowski. Gabriel for Arsenal. Seen out of play by Serginho Dest. Under the watchful eye of Mikel Arteta.
Interesting that he has played Timber at left back. Just crossed my mind that they might play with a back three tonight, but doesn't seem to be the case.
Havertz.
As I was saying, it's a big night for that man there, Kai Havertz. He's playing in this role as an attacking midfield player on the left-hand side. Didn't play particularly well, I didn't think, against Manchester United, particularly without the ball.
Partey. Ødegaard. Abde Ezalzouli. And the Moroccan taking on Saliba. Ramsdale with the save, first time, but helpless, left at the mercy of Robert Lewandowski.
This is all about Abde. Brilliant. Wins the ball off Ødegaard. I was talking about Saliba being quick, but he gets beaten for pace here. And a good cross into the box. The first save is a good one. But as you expect, Lewandowski in the right place, finishes it nicely with his left foot. There's the first run Rafinha might have scored. Good save by Ramsdale with his foot. And it falls nicely, doesn't it, for Lewandowski. What a start for Barcelona.
When these sides have met in fully fledged competitive environments, it's usually gone Barcelona's way. 9 meetings, all in the Champions League, and Arsenal have won just one of them. And they're behind here early to a goal from the man who was the top scorer in La Liga last season.
And even that win for Arsenal didn't win the tie for them. They lost over the two legs.
Saka. Pedri, Rafinha. Arsenal's fourth game of pre-season, Barcelona's first. So you would expect that Arsenal would be the sharper of the two.
Absolutely. It's not the case in this first few minutes. As we saw quite often last year, Barcelona are quite happy to play on the counter-attack, a change in style from Xavi on certain occasions. I think Arsenal are going to have a lot of the ball here. Can they break down this Barcelona defence?
Trossard earns a yard. Timber. Jesus. Arsenal could do with a convincing display this evening after losing to Manchester United at MetLife at the weekend. White topples over and Arsenal find themselves facing a Barcelona free kick. Lewandowski. Gundogan. A successful Barcelona pass, rapturously cheered. Havertz.
There you saw the philosophy of Barcelona. Gundogan gave the ball away and then chased 15-20 yards to go and win it back. That's what Xavi demands of his midfield players.
Saka. Outside Odegaard.
We talked about it the other night. Saka it was against Shaw. Tonight it's Saka against Marcus Alonso, who I think we'd all say is good going forward, not quite so good in the 1v1 situations defensively.
By Rafinha.
Certainly be fighting for that right wing spot against Dembele.
You think about 6 of these are likely to start the season in La Liga for Barcelona, don't you?
I do. Ter Stegen is a cert. Probably new signing Gundogan would be another one. Pedri is exceptional, one of the best midfield players in the world at the moment. Araujo, the best centre half, and probably Christensen will play alongside him. And of course Lewandowski will centre forward.
This is Bukayo Saka. White. Falls for Saka, it's fortuitous, it's 1-1. Poached by Bukayo Saka after a Barcelona error. An exchange of goals in the opening 12 minutes.
Good finish from Saka, but it's Christensen that makes the mistake here, controls it, lets it get away from him. And Saka on his weaker right foot just lifts it over the goalkeeper. There's the big touch, then he can't make the challenge because he knows he's going to give a penalty away. And as Ter Stegen comes out, he just plays it with that right foot to the side of him and over the trailing arm. Good finish.
And a decent response by Arsenal to falling behind. Bukayo Saka at the still tender age of 21, an indispensable part of Arsenal's makeup. Alonso. Gundogan. Pedri. Rafinha. Showed too much to Timber. Havertz. On for Jesus. Barcelona opened up here. Gabriel Jesus twists, turns. The nearest deflection took it away from Saka. Saka instead goes alone.
Well, they've got a problem down that left-hand side, or Barcelona's right-hand side. Jesus does well here, goes past Remo, and there's the touch, Araujo. But Dest is playing very high up on that right-hand side. He's pressing against, at times, Timber. There's a bit of space for the likes of Havertz to make his forward runs. There again, Dest is beaten, and it's all open down that side.
Timber. Jesus marshalled sufficiently well by Christensen. It's an Arsenal corner.
Well, Dest won't have a lot of protection out there with Rafinha in front of him. Here's the man that made the mistake for the goal, Christensen.
Good pacey start to this contest. Plenty of cut and thrust.
Nothing wrong with the pitch so far.
Trossard. Saka. To be goal bound. Another issue to say about the playing surface is it is very narrow. That's one of the issues that this $5 billion stadium faces ahead of hosting games at the World Cup of 2026. They're going to have to remove some of the field suites ahead of that tournament. And of course they'll have to lay a proper natural grass playing surface rather than a temporary one.
Certainly won't beat this stadium in terms of atmosphere and the look of it. Magnificent.
It is a temple. It's been open for nearly 3 years now. Stegen closed down by Jesus.
Not a great decision by ter Stegen to take a first touch there. The ball was rolled back for him. Maybe to just play that first time into the space.
Followed by White.
About this one either. It was White had won the ball back. Maybe just a little touch on Abde.
Pedri picking out Rafinha. The entire width of the pitch. Lewandowski. Alonso. Just allowed to drift out by Abde.
Didn't play too many games at left back when he went to Barcelona last season. Marcus Alonso played a lot of games at centre back, which would surprise many Chelsea supporters, I would imagine. Foul given against Saka.
Pedri. Surrendered to Partey. Saka. Pocket of space for Jesus. He's lucky to get it back. Trossard. Saka. He stood beyond everyone. Havertz being the deepest of those Arsenal players.
That's what Havertz brings to this Arsenal team. When they do get the ball in wide areas, Havertz is big, he's good in the air. He'll make those late runs into the box. Saka, on that occasion, just too heavy with his cross here. But Havertz against Dest is a non-contest at the far post.
Partey. Havertz. Saka. Ødegaard. There's a handball there. It's a penalty. Alex Chilowicz took a breath, took a look, and points directly to the spot.
Well, he can argue all he wants. I think the arm went up in the air. That would be in an unnatural position. Hits him on the arm. It's great play from Ødegaard. There's the cutback. There's the shot from Trossard. No doubt about it. It's a penalty. Probably stops a goal as well.
It's Araujo who transgressed, and it's Bukayo Saka who's being asked to convert the penalty. Saka for Arsenal. Well, pre-season is the time to make mistakes. It's not the high-pressure environment, nor is that a feeling that Saka will want to experience again as we head for a hydration break.
Well, he has missed some big penalties. One in the European Championships. It's not a good penalty. You can smile at the moment. Arsenal actually wanted penalties at the end of the Manchester United game. For some experience and put pressure on the players.
Consolatory arm around the shoulder from his manager. And this game level at the midway point of the first half, and a pretty good feisty contest so far.
It certainly is. You have to say Arsenal beginning to dominate the game, as they probably should in their fourth game to Barcelona's first. Lewandowski opened the scoring. Good play by Abde down the left-hand side. And we are seeing Barcelona try and play on the counter-attack here. Arsenal dominating possession. And there's no reason why it shouldn't be a feisty affair. You just have to look around the stadium, the atmosphere, watching millions.
And the organisers tell us that they sold round about 60,000 tickets. It holds just over 70,000, and I have to say I can't see too many empty seats. Looks to be very close to a full house inside this most futuristic of arenas. There's all sorts of politicking going on, I'm sure, as to which venue will be awarded the World Cup final in 3 years' time, but this has to be a prime candidate. So the tale of the tape so far, first goal, 7th minute.
Yeah, Rafinha probably should score. It was great work by Abde down the left-hand side. There's the cross. Rafinha had come in from that right-hand side. Ramsdale palms it into the path of Lewandowski, and finishes it as you expect him to do.
And it only took 6 minutes for Arsenal to respond with that equalising goal from Bukayo Saka. Players have had their drink, their pep talk. Saka has steadied himself and we're back underway. Beat Barcelona. The Soccer Champions Tour continues on Saturday. Real Madrid face Barcelona. El Clasico, 5 Eastern from Arlington, Texas. Rafinha stays down. And this being a pre-season game, Arsenal immediately halt play.
There's a good little tussle between Timber and Rafinha. I think Rafinha is suggesting that Timber caught him on the side of the knee. It's a miss season at Barcelona last year. Played some good games, scored some good goals. There's where he just got trodden on. I don't think it is a foul.
Yeah, just made double figures, 10 goals. Saka is now the player down. White. Saka. And Trossard just able to stab at the ball rather than truly guide it.
There's a yellow card here for Trossard. Getting in the way of Verstegen as he tries to bowl the ball out. I'm not sure he did that much wrong on the first viewing. One long ball played by White, who's just made the run. He just catches his arm. That's what the referee didn't like.
Havertz. Looking for Lewandowski. Just the halfway line is a little wonky.
Sure, it's not your eyes.
No, I think it's probably the product of a member of the ground staff having had a jolly good night out last night. Saka. Jesus on his blocks. 3 wait for the cross. Saka in support too. Comes to White. Saka. Partey. Leandro Trossard. And White, the 2 former Brighton and Hove Albion players, attempting to combine down the Arsenal right flank. Saka. Trossard. Inventive pass. It falls for Ødegaard.
Good defending. Araújo at the far post. Just sense a second goal is coming for Arsenal. It's a really good build-up play. They're making good runs in between the Barcelona centre-backs, which at times is a back 3, which at times is a back 4. That's not really affected the game at all is Romeo in that deep role. That's usually the position you want the player to get on the ball and make things happen. He's hardly touched it so far. Odegaard is getting really close to him, and Barcelona have possession.
Barcelona attempt to play their way out. Araujo. Pushed to the floor by Havertz. Pedri. Calls for handball against Saliba, led by Lewandowski.
He always makes out he's very confident, Ramsdale, as a goalkeeper, but I'm not so sure about him with the ball at his feet. Good decisions all the time.
Taking a while to pick himself up after a collision with Havertz, and here comes Pedri. He appeared to be pulled back.
Absolutely, should have been a free kick. It's the Arsenal man. Pedri does that so well, running with the ball. He might have given it now, the referee.
So half an hour played. It's the splendour of SoFi, and the best news, given all the pre-match fears, is that the pitch is playing pretty well. A disconcerting sight to see members of the ground staff able to lift up the corner of pieces of turf and trying to tamp them down again. It's Gundogan. Araujo, and the corner off Ben White. Rafinha will take this. Referee spotting an infringement.
To the amusement of Lewandowski. That was a good decision by Ramsdale. He was under a bit of pressure, went long.
Barcelona have been in the news the past 24 hours, yet again because of their perilous financial situation. Still reportedly 1.3 billion euros in debt, which is round about where they were this time last year. Reports surfacing that they've secured 100 million euros of funding from Qatar, which will at least allow them to register the likes of Gundogan and Inigo Martinez ahead of the start of the season. Players on both sides getting frustrated by some of the refereeing decisions.
Here's the challenge. It's a foul, there's no question about it. Timber makes contact with Adli first there with the standing leg. Yes, he goes down rather easily. He certainly didn't win the ball first, Timber.
So Barcelona have built themselves a set-piece platform. Rafinha and Gundogan, the alternatives to take it. Here's Rafinha, and the deflection takes it past the goalkeeper, who just couldn't spring to his right sufficiently. Big stroke of fortune for Rafinha and Barcelona, a nonplussed Ramsdale, and the Spanish champions back in front.
Well, he just couldn't move quick enough, could he? Here is the free kick. Just takes that deflection off the wall. He's going one way, then he can't recover quickly enough. He actually takes two bigger steps to that near post. Yes, it's lucky. It comes off Trossard's arm. I don't think that's good goalkeeping again.
Well, Aaron Ramsdale had an uncomfortable moment against Manchester United, beaten by Bruno Fernandes from distance in New Jersey at the weekend. And it's not got any better tonight as Jesus catches Romeo.
His steps towards the near post were far too big. And then he couldn't recover. He was blaming Trossard in the wall for not being braver, I think.
Gundogan. And Barcelona emerged from a tight spot. And that's an utterly cynical pullback by Havertz, for which he sees yellow.
Well, there was Arsenal's press. They nearly won the ball back off Gundogan. And Christensen did really well. Saw the space in front of him, driving forward, and then steps across Havertz. And yeah, as you said, cynical.
Ter Stegen. White. Gundogan, the most advanced Barcelona player. And it's for a foul by Saliba, unanswered by the referee. Havertz. Araujo goes across with a scissors motion. And Arsenal are incensed by that. Yellow for the Uruguayan.
Well, he certainly won the ball, and I think he did win the ball. I think it's the trailing leg that the referee didn't like. The Arsenal players are getting round the referee because he was going to give him a yellow card anyway, and then he kicked the ball away. I think you mentioned it right at the start of the game. This referee is going to be under a little bit of pressure. I'm not sure he needed to make such an aggressive challenge, Araujo. Havertz wasn't really going anywhere. It was against the touchline. But he certainly got the ball with his right foot. But it was the trailing leg that may have been the problem. He's got to calm himself down, Uruguay. Here it is again. It's a great challenge. In my view, that's a very good challenge and didn't deserve a yellow card or a foul. But his reaction wasn't good.
So now the dust has settled. Ødegaard can tee up this free kick. And the referee saw a degree of physical contact that he didn't like and blew fairly early.
Quite rightly as well. Partey, a ridiculous challenge. Just nudges Lewandowski in the back and knocks him over.
Alex Chilowicz having a tricky evening to this point. Dest. Saka. Gundogan. Pedri. Gundogan.
He just wanted Lewandowski to stand still there.
Christensen with the lunge that did win the ball.
If ever you thought that football's just about passing and clever movement and great trickery, that tackle there by Christensen got the biggest cheer from the Barcelona fans of the night so far. Football is and should be a physical game.
It's a yellow card for Ben White now.
Consistent fouling by the Arsenal right back.
A yellow card caution for finishing by the referee to Arsenal's number 4, Ben White, in the 41st minute of play.
Ødegaard. Saka taking on Alonso and winning a corner off Christensen.
He was always going to go past Alonso there. Alonso's not the quickest in the 1v1 situations, but good positioning by Christensen. Excellent play by Saka. Trying to find Jesus in the middle.
Saka. Off the top of Romeo's head. Trossard.
Probably the wrong decision by Trossard. Just needed to get that ball back in the danger area.
Abde. Saka. And Partey upended by Rafinha. Saka once again. Ødegaard touched in. That's two apiece at SoFi. Havertz scores for the second time in this pre-season.
And once again, Saka, the provider, holds off Alonso. There's the first header. Ødegaard, I don't think this is on target, but it falls nicely for Havertz. And he finishes it in some ease. It's all made. Every time they switch the ball out to Saka, they look a threat, Arsenal.
Barcelona made to look fragile in both full-back positions. The criticism of Kai Havertz at Chelsea was that he didn't score sufficiently. He was off to a promising start, albeit from a slightly deeper position than of yore. Scored in the MLS All-Star game and repeats the trick here against Barcelona. Havertz. Partey. Saka. with White on his outside. Abde comes back to White. Erdegaard. Gundogan. Careless. This is Trossard. And Leandro Trossard tests the palms of Ter Stegen.
You don't see that very often. Pedri trying the crossfield pass. Araujo decided not to go for it. Trossard did well. Fairly comfortable save, I would say, for Ter Stegen. Strikes it nicely, Trossard, as he so often does.
Saka will take this. The header by Jesus is the final act of a feisty, tightly contested half. It finishes 2 goals apiece. Barcelona twice in front through Lewandowski and then through Rafinha's deflected free kick. Saka equalised the first time, Havertz the second 2 minutes prior to the break, and in between times Araujo's handball led to a penalty that Bukayo Saka stroked wide. Half-time score at SoFi Stadium in front of 60,000 plus, 2-2 between Arsenal and Barcelona. So it's gradually becoming clear which players are going to be introduced. Iñaki Peña is going to be playing in goal for Barcelona in the second half. Ansu Fati. We've seen Ferran Torres. We're expecting Franck Kessie to play in midfield. Ousmane Dembele, Frenkie de Jong, all of them likely to be introduced to this Los Angeles crowd shortly. Sign of the depth in the Barcelona squad. For all their problems with recruitment, restrictions on them signing players, the fact they can only reinvest 50% of any transfer income that they generate. This is a squad that many other teams would envy.
A chance for some of these players who didn't have great seasons last year, the likes of Ansu Fati, Ferran Torres, Kessie, who were brought to the club. Kessie from AC Milan. Didn't get too many starts.
And there are stories linking him quite strongly with Juventus at the moment. Suggestions that the two clubs may already have agreed a fee.
You can understand why, because when he was at Milan, he was outstanding, one of the best midfield players in Europe. I don't think he's really fitted into how Xavi expects a Barcelona midfield player to play.
Here come Arsenal. As against Manchester United the other day at MetLife, Mikel Arteta opting to give these players more than just the first half. So it's the same cast list. Same 11 will commence the second period for the Gunners. With the one exception that Kai Havertz is being replaced by Emile Smith-Rowe. Just looking down the list of Barcelona players and those that we can see beneath us. Jules Koundé is another of those thrown out there for the second half.
Interesting to see whether he plays at right back or centre back. That was the big question last season. He wanted to be a centre back, but he's ended up playing as a right back. And there's talks of him wanting to go. Sergio Roberto playing out on that pitch now, probably at right back, and they will play alongside Garcia.
Changes being overseen by members of the Barcelona coaching staff. Last act is to give the captain's armband to Eric Garcia. Changes having been made, we are now able to get back underway.
Halftime substitution for Barcelona. Leaving the game, Kai Havertz. Entering the game, number 10, Neil Smith-Rowe.
Confirmation of that Arsenal change given to the crowd.
Halftime substitution for Barcelona.
Dembele.
This
This could be a lengthy announcement. The PA announcer is attempting to describe all the substitutions for Barcelona.
Ferran Torres is going to play at centre forward. Dembele is going to play on the right hand side. Ansu Fati on the left. Kessie alongside Frankie de Jong in midfield.
Here's Jesus. Nicely taken. Ball was whipped from his toe before he could get the shot away. Trossard.
Number 24, Eric Garcia. Number 29, Enrique Lopez.
Saliba.
Half a chance it was for Jesus. Well defended in the end.
There's a list of the players that have come on. Completely different team for Barcelona in the second half, but quite a few star names nonetheless. Sergio Roberto. Ousmane Dembele with a somewhat careful touch. Smith-Rowe. Saliba. Bukayo Saka. Partey. Smith-Rowe again.
Good to see Smith-Rowe back in the Arsenal side. Long layoff with injury. He's a player that can really run with the ball. Such an exciting prospect 2 or 3 years ago.
Just stalled by that groin injury that Stuart refers to. Limited to 14 appearances, all off the bench last season. Didn't start a single game. Kessie. De Jong. Ramsdale gathers.
Good bit of play down that left-hand side. Left back Baldi getting involved. Such an attacking player when he gets on the ball.
Also gives us a chance to see 20-year-old attacking midfielder Fermin Lopez in this second half. He's really caught the eye of the Barcelona coaching staff in pre-season. He was on loan at Linares in the 3rd division last season. Wearing number 29 here. Dembele, this is Lopez. Referee playing advantage. De Jong. Ansu Fati. Smith Rowe for Arsenal. Trossard.
Probably the player that struggled most for Barcelona last year was Ferran Torres. Whether he was playing on the left-hand side, whether he played at centre forward, whether he came on as a sub, just couldn't get involved in the games. Looked a player that had really lost his confidence. He has been such an important player for Spain on occasions.
Koundé. Arsenal ball.
Koundé playing in his preferred right side centre-back position, as he did for Sevilla.
Fortuitous. Saka.
Yeah, and that won't help Ferran Torres' confidence. It was him that tried the crossfield pass. It took a deflection. Went straight to Saka on his weaker right foot. This is a difficult chance. Jesus does brilliantly. He tries to take it quickly. You can see Balde's coming across. We had a difficult first half, the referee. Might not be quite so difficult with the 10 outfield changes, or 11 changes to the team for Barcelona.
Quite a character, Alex Chilowicz, the man in charge. He writes music for Hollywood movies as a living. A composer of movie scores. Balde. Foot on the gas for Barcelona. Fermin Lopez. Dembele was on.
Absolutely, it was on. We're right behind it. And he just took that touch in field, and the gap was there for him to play the shot. Just gets underneath it. Good play from Balde. So much pace, the left back.
Ousmane Dembele, one of the few to reject the riches of Saudi Arabia. This summer he was offered in excess of $200 million to go to Al Nassr. Jesus. Ødegaard.
Just couldn't quite keep it in play. Smith Rowe.
Arsenal being watched tonight by their owner, Stan Kroenke, who is more than familiar with this stadium from his ownership of the Rams. He was down on the pitch, examining the turf prior to kick-off. Ansu Fati. Balde. Trickery and combination nearly opening Arsenal up.
Yeah, he could be in for a difficult time. Ben White down that far side. Both players showing their quality there, Ansu Fati and Balde. More skills just being shown on the big screen to the fans inside the ground. Much to the pleasure of the Barcelona fans.
Trossard. And he's found the angle and found the net. X-ray vision from Leandro Trossard. Arsenal in front for the first time tonight.
And you can talk about passing football. What you don't see here, it came from one long kick from the goalkeeper Ramsdale. Garcia didn't get a particularly good header and Trossard did the rest. He gets on it and he hits it between the legs of Koundé. Very difficult for the goalkeeper, Peña. Very good finish. A player that settled into Arsenal quite well when he signed from Brighton.
He was a January arrival from the South Coast. To augment the playing staff for the run into what they hoped was going to be their first league title in 19 years. Didn't quite turn out that way. Kessie. Garcia. This is Koundé. Just as Arsenal's challenge was unravelling, so Barcelona's was confirming them as champions of Spain for a 27th time, winning the title with 4 games in hand.
Never looked to be the case when they lost to Real Madrid fairly early on in the season. Beaten quite easily on that day. Bernabeu 3-1.
One of 5 Clásicos last season. Barcelona had the edge across all competitions, 3 wins to 2. Smith Rowe to Thomas Partey. He presents it straight to Sergio Roberto. Garcia. Dembele. Asking a lot, too much of Sergio Roberto.
Well, it was almost a brilliant bit of play. He took it infield. Everybody thinks he's going to cross it or shoot with his left foot. Drags it back, opens it up for Sergio Roberto, and then played the pass a little bit too heavily. The first half was a good game. The second half is going to be just as good by the looks of it.
Mistake by Koundé. Trossard. Koundé has partially atoned. Timber. Trossard. It's Smith Rowe. That's a bonus for Arsenal.
Yeah, Koundé made a big mistake there. He was trying to play it wide. He actually played it straight into the middle of the pitch.
Saka. And immediately arrived. Kessie.
Free kick given. Just A nudge there from Kessie and Saka.
Saka will orchestrate this. And it's straight to Smith Rowe!
Well, what a lovely strike. He just rolled back to him. Just hits through the back of the ball. And a good save from Peña.
Arsenal down below as are preparing to bring on Fabio Vieira. Before this corner. Which Saka will take. Timber attempting to get the near post flick. Comes to Jesus. It's Trossard. Jesus. Ødegaard. By De Jong. There's Ødegaard again. And that will defeat everyone, including Gabriel.
You can see what he was looking for, to head it back into that area. Gabriel. You saw all the potential he had as a youngster. Ødegaard come out last season. He was outstanding for Arsenal.
On the cover. So here comes that Arsenal substitution. Fabio Vieira, the Portuguese midfielder, taking the place of Martin Ødegaard. He removes the captain's armband. Gives it to Emil Smith Rowe. It will be passed on to Gabriel Jesus. And warm applause from a large contingent of Arsenal supporters for the skipper. The Soccer Champions Tour comes thick and fast. More action from this competition to come on Sunday. Very attractive game. Manchester United against Borussia Dortmund from Las Vegas. Kicking off is at 8:30 p.m. Eastern.
Certainly a different Manchester United team to the one that played against Wrexham last night.
And indeed the one that has turned out against Real Madrid earlier this evening. Saka. Smith Rowe. Leandro Trossard.
Very good ball played into the box. Trossard, goalkeeper, did well. Couldn't make his move too early to anticipate that Jesus was going to get there.
Balde. That is sorted out neatly enough by Partey until it came to the distribution.
Well, for me, that would be a worry for Arsenal. Ben White backed off and backed off. He allowed Ansu Fati just to run freely with the ball. Now he doesn't go and close him down. He's asking Saka to do it.
Are you thinking that maybe Timber is going to start the season at right back for Arsenal?
I would think he's got more chance than Ben White. Ben White had a good season last year, but Timber, I think, is a better right back than Ben White. does take time to settle into a club, so they might give him that little bit longer. Had a difficult World Cup, didn't he?
Yes, things turned rather sour and he ended up coming back early. Smith Rowe. Comfortable for Koundé. Sergio Roberto giving it up to Partey. Jesus. Kessie. Into Fati. Frenkie de Jong. Dembele. Sergio Roberto. Koundé. Dembele. Fermin Lopez missing his kick. And the whistle goes as Kessie takes aim.
We'll have a drinks break here. There's a foul.
So what are we making of this game at what is now three-quarter distance?
I think it's been a great exercise for both sides. Arsenal have shown their quality, how they want to play, dominate possession, but the territory. They have shown that they can go long as well at times. The third goal has just come from a long kick from Ramsdale. There's been some good combination play. Barcelona, against the weaker sides, they like to have possession. They're going to play on the front foot. They're going to play in the opposition's half and try and win the ball back as quickly as possible. Against the better teams, they're quite comfortable to play on the counter-attack because they have got a bit of pace in the wide areas. They've got pace in the full-back areas at times, particularly when Baldi's playing. Well, I think it's been a really good game so far between two sides that are going to be challenging at the top of both their leagues and maybe in Europe as well. He wants to give his players some game time here. Mikel Arteta. He made the two substitutions so far. Here is the goal. This is the last bit of play. Yeah, you may say he should get a bit tighter, but he's a bit unlucky. He tries to block the shot, it goes between his legs. Probably unsights the goalkeeper for a while, Peña. But he couldn't hit it any better, right into that far corner from Trossard.
A clutch of Arsenal substitutes waiting to enter the fray now. We've got Kieran Tierney, Jakub Kiwior and Jorginho. Here's the opportunity for those changes. So it's going to be Jorginho taking the place of Thomas Partey, the base of Arsenal's midfield. Jakub Kiwior is coming on for Saliba. And Jurrien Timber's experimental outing at left-back is over as Kieran Tierney is going to come on. Taking Arsenal's substitutes used up to 5 in number.
So looking at that substitution, it does look as though Ben White might be the starting right back from the start of the season. I think they might just take White off and put Timbers over to that far side.
Substitutions for Arsenal in the
Jesus.
leading the game, number 5, Thomas Partey. Entering the game, number 2, William Saliba.
Sergio Roberto. Dembele.
Also leading the game, number 12, Jordan Pickford.
First duel won by Tierney. Garcia sliced his clearance. Now off goes Balde. They're a few quicker than he. White having to be wary. Gabriel having to be calm.
First of all, it was great play from Balde, the pace. The pass that he tried to play, the movement was quite good from Ansu Fati, but excellent defending by White in the end. But his angle's absolutely right. The other player that would have a chance of playing there is Tomiyasu.
So Arsenal holding this narrow lead over Barcelona thanks to that goal early in the second half from Trossard. Mikel Arteta, the Arsenal coach, up against the club where he began his playing career. A couple of years younger than his opposite number, Xavi. 5 years at Barcelona, joined at the age of 15, played a couple of seasons in the reserves.
The problem with the ball here, that's why they kicked it out.
Koundé. Dembele.
Well, Tierney's looking at the assistant referee. He was trying to play offside there. It's a very tight call, but a good run from Dembele. Tierney eventually defended it well.
Sergio Roberto's tackle appears to have done some damage. And Leandro Trossard.
Maybe not happy with a couple of comments by the Arsenal players.
Is still receiving treatment.
Oh, it could have been a nasty one. It's a strong challenge, but he won the ball. No question about that. Trossard just dangled his leg out there. The referee can always look at that and say it was over forceful, even though he won the ball. Could endanger an opponent.
White. scoring affair this than the most famous and most important meeting of these clubs back in 2006 at the Stade de France in Paris. Rijkaard's Barcelona getting the better of Arsene Wenger's Arsenal. Champions League final. And here in the now, this is Ansu Fati. And now it's Ousmane Dembele! The width of the post away from levelling.
Well, I just wonder whether Ramsdale got a slight touch on that. If he does, it's a brilliant save. What a good break that was from Barcelona. We'll talk about their pace going forward. Let's have a look again with his right foot. Might just get a slight touch.
Between Arsenal and FC Barcelona here at the SoFi Stadium.
If we didn't pick that up behind us, the crowd confirmed as just a shade over 70,000. Lopez. As he goes as Balde takes possession and takes aim.
Yeah, Lopez thought he won the ball here. The challenge. Yeah, it's a good challenge as well. No foul there. Gabriel gets away with this one, trying to dribble out from the back. Balde that picked it up.
Arsenal are back on the plane to the UK after this game. Game next Wednesday against Monaco, the Emirates Cup event, and then it's on to Wembley to face Manchester City on Sunday in the FA Community Shield, the traditional curtain raiser to the English season. Two more Arsenal substitutions about to be made. Gabriel Martinelli and Eddie Nketiah coming on. Deft touch by Trossard to Saka. Opening it up for Tierney. And Tierney returned the favour. Leandro Trossard backs his second, and it's number 4 for Arsenal.
Well, it's a good switch of play. That's what Tierney loves to do, get forward. It'll be interesting to see whether he was actually picking out Trossard or just playing it into a good area. Trossard was just making his run into the box. It's actually a very good delivery and a brilliant finish. Doesn't have to do too much. The pace of the ball, all he has to do is just let it hit the inside of his right boot. And he does it really, really well. And that's the end of Trossard. A couple of goals. I said right at the beginning, he'll be looking to just get in front of Martinelli. A tough job. But 2 goals always helps.
Well, the Brazilian now on in the Belgians' place. And Jesus coming off, replaced by Eddie Nketiah, who's been fairly strongly linked with a possible move to Crystal Palace in the UK newspapers over the past 24 hours. And for Barcelona, Fermin Lopez, who only came on at half-time, now goes off to be replaced by Lamine Yamal, who is just 16 years young. 16 2 weeks ago, that's all. Club's youngest ever player when he came on as an 83rd minute substitute against Betis in May. Dembele. De Jong. Yamal. Just off the La Masia production line.
Very He nearly had the youngest scorer as well in that game. A couple of chances, played very well for 10 minutes or so. Came on the left-hand side in that game. He's now playing as the furthest forward of the midfield men.
De Jong. Balde makes the burst. Second time that the woodworkers denied Barcelona.
Well, Saka was claiming it was offside, but Balde, I think, timed his run perfectly. Such a danger, such a threat, Balde. Gets in behind Saka. Kivior can't recover.
Nothing doing from referee Chilowitz. Balde. And a fresh point involving Jorginho.
Well, Arsenal was saying the ball should be kicked out. That's what Vieira is saying. Barcelona carried on playing, and that's why Jorginho came across, and he shouldn't do. Came across and a little kick at Balde. And that's a poor challenge. Should be a yellow card for Jorginho. And then Vieira gets involved. Says the ball should have been kicked out.
Meantime, Saka has eventually picked himself up. And there are two more Arsenal players waiting to come on. Rob Holding and Mario Cozier-Duberry. Saka's one of those that's going to be withdrawn. Gabriel, the other player who's going to come off. Sergio Roberto. Yamal finding Koundé. Garcia. Balde stumbled. So double change by the Gunners. Rob Holding, the more familiar of the two figures coming on, serving central defender for the Bolton Wanderers. And the younger man is number 45, Mario Cozier-Duberry, who's an attacking midfielder who also plays a wing-back or a winger. Got as far as being an unused substitute in the Premier League for the Boxing Day fixture against Nottingham Forest last season.
I saw a bit of him in the FA Youth Cup last season. Arsenal got to the final and lost to West Ham. He played a prominent part in Arsenal's progression to that final. Very exciting player. He's gone on to the right wing, exactly where Saka was playing.
The Soccer Champions Tour continues on Saturday with the very attractive prospect of Barcelona facing up to their eternal rivals Real Madrid. And it's at 5 Eastern from the home of the Cowboys in Arlington, Texas. Jorginho. And Nketiah. Fabio Vieira. Claudia Dewberry waiting. Kessie behind for a corner kick.
Good bit of play from Arsenal again. He was a bit hesitant coming. Kessie defending it well at the far post, as he so often did when he was playing for Milan. Do both sides of the game. Haven't seen it enough at Barcelona.
Arsenal have deployed Fabio Vieira to take this corner. Goalkeeper. Well, there was a push in there.
Ben White, the player, I think, that gave him a nudge in the back.
Kessie. Dembele. Yamal.
Well, I think everybody could see what was going to happen there. He was going to come in on his left foot. And Arsenal got enough players back, so it made it difficult for him. Look how many Arsenal players come across here. Ben White was looking also to get the block in if it had gone into that far corner. It's a player that's certainly got a lot of promise. Yamal.
Garcia.
Once again, Ramsdale went long, and it looked as though it might cause problems because Barcelona were trying to press higher up the field, and it left 3 versus 3 and half a pitch. And that's how Trossard got his first goal.
Stumble by Holding. That's in Dembele. Ferran Torres, and the flag is up. It's not, in fact. It will count. And Barcelona are still in business here.
Well, that's great for his confidence, Ferran Torres. Mistake by the substitute Holding. Seen a few of those over the last 4 or 5 years. And he can't get back to recover, and a good finish from Ferran Torres. Passes it beyond Ramsdale. Ramsdale thinks it's going in at the near post. Ferran Torres. He needed that.
So the outcome still in doubt, as Ramsdale pumps it as far as he possibly can. Tierney. Martinelli. Garcia. Martinelli. And there is the clearance. Applied with style and aplomb by Fabio Vieira. No doubt now, Arsenal's night at SoFi.
And what a way to finish. Absolutely brilliant. Kivior. Jorginho plays the forward pass. They work it nicely, and then Vieira just wraps his foot round it. Haven't seen that much of him in an Arsenal shirt play particularly well, but that's the quality he's got. He just wraps his left foot around it. Absolutely no chance for Peña.
And for those Arsenal fans who were at the right end of the stadium to savour that particular piece of action, it's a fitting climax to a night that I think they will view as highly satisfactory, Stuart.
Absolutely. Arsenal have been excellent in this second half. They showed their quality and a lot of the first half as well. They're a side that are certainly going to do well in the Premier League this year and challenge Man City.
Well, tonight they've taken on and challenged Barcelona, and Mikel Arteta has got the better of his old club. A useful outing too for Xavi. Barca's first game of pre-season after the postponement of the Juventus match at the weekend. Barcelona led on two occasions through Lewandowski 1-0 and Rafinha 2-1. Saka and Havertz with first half equalisers. Trossard put Arsenal into a lead early in the second half, the first time the Gunners had had their noses in front. Trossard made it 4-2, Torres 4-3, and ultimately Fabio Vieira with the goal of the night, 5-3 to Arsenal.
Yeah, very good game. Great atmosphere inside the stadium. They can all go home very happy with what they've seen. Arsenal end their USA tour. They've been good. Barcelona maybe still need a bit of work in them, but they're going to be the team to beat in La Liga.
No arguments about value for money at a packed SoFi this evening. 8 goals shared not entirely equally. The champions of Spain beaten by the runners-up in England in front of 70,000 plus. The full-time score on a night when most people will go home happy and satisfied. Arsenal 5, FC Barcelona 3.
Certainly a lively start to the game.
Ramsdale with the second first shot, but helpless, left at the mercy of Robert Lewandowski. It's for Saka, it's fortuitous, touched by Bukayo Saka. It's a penalty. Time to make mistakes. Big stroke of fortune for Rafinha and Barcelona, 2 apiece at SoFi.